kick off the show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Florian. I think I've seen most of you somewhere in the castle or the courtyard. So, I'm from a project called Common Ground. Before I did this stuff, you may have seen me if you're from Germany and have been in crypto for a little while, jumping around in the Berlin politic and crypto lobbying scene, basically. I'm a lawyer that has been doing crypto advocacy for a number of years, first in Germany, now actually on the European level in Brussels around this MiCA regulation. But sort of my passion and a lot of my work goes into building this project called Common Ground. And I want to talk about that today because we're also collaborating here with Eternity as a blockchain ecosystem. And I'll get into that in a moment. So I tried to keep it crisp and interesting. I have four chapters that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the problem we solve with Common Ground, which is online collaboration for communities. Then I want to talk about Web3 primitives, so building blocks from the Web3 that we think we can leverage to make community building more interesting. I want to talk about this vision of a community hyperstructure, which is this conceptual idea of hyperstructures applied to the realm of communities. And then the last chapter is going to be the obligatory AI chapter, where I will explain why this is totally relevant for AI. All right. So first chapter is online collaboration. I have these sort of in-between slides for these chapters, and you will see some sort of nice drawings on it. This is from a really cool YouTube film that I can recommend, which is called The Goddess of Everything Else. I can highly recommend it if you're into coordination and that kind of stuff. Okay. So which problem does Common Ground solve? Basically, we've understood that building a community on the internet, but also in the real world, anywhere, is really hard. And the tools that we have for doing it online are really not very mature when we look at all the things we want to do in the form of a community nowadays. Think about DAOs as sort of these super early movers that most people never heard of and probably never will and don't understand what they do, but you do because you're here. So think about DAOs as these super early mover communities who understood that they can leverage this really crazy technology called crypto to achieve totally new forms of coordination, such as, you remember, Constitution DAO raising a cool $42 million to buy a copy of the US Constitution at an auction. That's insane. That would not have been possible in the 90s on the internet, where people already had, a chat, a forum, this and that, but there was no form of money that an unincorporated group of people that never met each other on the internet can just collect $42 million and buy Constitution with. It's insane. That's amazing. But most people don't know how to do this. They don't even have a wallet. They don't know what a wallet is, right? So there are these two realities, and the question is, can we bring this stuff together? That's essentially our mission statement. But of course, that's a big vision. We need to start somewhere. So we decided to look at the Web3 space itself. And when we looked, we saw that in some weird way, the Web3 space is stuck in a local maximum called Discord. Most of you have probably used Discord before, maybe are active users, maybe the project you work for or that you yourself are running is using Discord as sort of the main meeting point for your community. And Discord, as we all know, comes from the Web 2 area. It's a Web 2 tool. And I'll go into why that is a problem in a moment. So what's the problem with Discord in particular? Well, Discord, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means disagreement, dissonance, and conflict. Well. It doesn't have any native Web3 integrations, as we know. Like, it has this bot API, which allows you to do some stuff. But then every day you read about some random hack that has happened on somebody's Discord, and all the NFTs are gone, right? The company itself is even actively opposed to Web3 values. They made a public statement in 2020 or 2021 saying that they will never do anything with Web3 NFTs or whatever. And of course, they are a privately shareholder-owned company. They give exactly nothing back to you, the people who are actually bringing the value to this whole platform. They're just like Facebook. They're like anything else out there, shareholder-owned. And they were recently fined $1 million for abusing user data by the French Data Protection Authority, right? And they recently forced you to agree to a change of the terms of service where you agree that they can use your data, including the voice calls that you have and the video calls that you have on Discord, to record that stuff. And, you know, whatever, train an AI on it or whatever they want to do with it, use it for advertisement. So, newsflash, Discord is an evil company. All right. Well, then there's DAO tooling, which has sort of been a little category that was hyped in the last bull market. Now it's totally dead. And the problem with DAO tooling was that it was just, I think it was meant in good spirit, but it didn't end up being very usable products, with some few exceptions, because they require specialized knowledge to use them. They are not inclusive to Web2 communities at all. It starts with login with your wallet. Oh, what is that? How do I get that? And it really was fixated on a narrow idea of governance, this idea that we all come together with our wallets and then we vote with our tokens. And that just never happened. Governance participation in DAOs is historically low. It's like in the one-digit percentages. And rarely, if ever, is even the quorum met to make a vote in a DAO even eligible. So what needs to happen? At Common Ground, we believe we need to start with the atomic unit of coordination and build up from there. And the atomic unit of coordination to us is communication. So we need to start with a communication for communities and then integrate all these advanced functions like voting, governance, token gating, whatever, and anything you can think of, wallets, into this. So that's Common Ground. And if you plot today's, group collaboration and communication tools onto a chart, where in the top right corner you have a tool that is super cooperative, so it has all the tools for collaborating as a community and even as an ecosystem entirely, and being super open, easy to find, easy to join on the internet, like these two properties, you will find that there is exactly nothing like that. Discord sort of goes there, but Discord really falls short in many, many ways. And so that's why we are building Common Ground. Here's a little screenshot. We've built Common Ground as a progressive web app, which is, I think, the new trend that is now starting, which is very encouraging. A progressive web app can run as a native app on your phone, on your tablet, on your laptop, but you install it outside of the App Store, so you don't have to pay the Apple tax. You don't have to subscribe to their idea of content censorship, of whatever else. It doesn't matter. You're outside of the walled garden of Apple and Google. So that's, I think, a new trend in crypto now, which is really nice. So this is what we've done. And now I want to talk about the Web3 building blocks that we have baked into this application. And it starts with a question of, am I talking to a real person here, or am I talking to an AI or a bot? That is something that will be harder and harder to know. It's already hard to know. It's getting even harder. And so we've introduced this idea of identification thresholds into the platform, and communities can have different spaces within their community where they say, well, this area is for everybody. I don't care if you're a dog, an AI, or a person. But then they have areas where they can say, you need to bring a certificate that proves that you are a real and unique human being with only exactly one account in this community. This is called proof of personhood. There are different ways to achieve this, and we've integrated a bunch of providers for communities to make this easy. And this also translates into governance, because if you want to do one person, one vote, or if you want to do quadratic voting, and in particular, quadratic voting is a very popular mechanism for communities. Gitcoin famously uses it, and a bunch of other platforms. You need a Sybil-resistant identity model, meaning you need a proof of personhood system. And so this is something we've baked in. We're also using verifiable credentials, which is this new sort of identity standard from the Web3 consortium, from the World Wide Web consortium, basically, to make provable claims about you as a person, like, you know, I'm that age, or I live here, or those sorts of things. We leverage on-chain reputation, on-chain rewards. At least that's on the roadmap. We haven't really implemented this, to be honest. We leverage token gating. So if you're a DAO, you can have spaces only for token holders. You can have spaces only for whales. You can have all kinds of token gated spaces in your community, which is nice. We do this based on a role system. So roles in online communities are sort of a hot topic now. There's even a protocol now that is leveraging this. It's called HATS protocol. You should check them out if you're interested in this. And so we also have a role system, which is really cool. Community-owned accounts. So imagine that today any Discord community has a super admin, which is the person that created this community at some point in the past. And these people can rock the community at any point. They can be hacked, but they are also, if this community is a DAO and they are running, you know, a stable coin that is unlicensed, then this one person that is registered and has created this community could become, you know, legally exposed in sort of a dangerous way. So there are many reasons why you don't want a super admin for your community. But to get around this, you need to break with Web 2 patterns entirely. And so we've introduced this idea of a community NFT that is the super admin, and the community NFT is this on-chain entity that can be, you know, only collectively modified by the community through governance vote. And this is how you can change out the moderators in the community and the people who can change stuff about it. So it's sort of a community controlled account, which is really, really beneficial in many ways. And of course, we're integrating governance like snapshot, all these kinds of things. Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. So I'm going to jump through some slides. Maybe one really cool idea, something that we haven't done yet, but we would love to do pretty soon, is the idea of giving every community a multi-sig wallet on the platform, which I think is really powerful. You know, if I think of the biggest sort of innovations that crypto brought, it's really one is stablecoins, I believe. And if you look at the sort of usage and adoption of stablecoins, it's growing even in the bear market. It's just insanely useful. And I think on the same level as stablecoins is this idea of community-controlled accounts. This idea that as a community, like as a group of people, you can manage a wallet together, and it's just like nobody can run away with the money. This is a building block that is so insanely useful. And so we would love to give every community a safe wallet automatically. They don't have to know what it is. It just works. It's just there. You can manage it together. You can charge subscriptions as a community for memberships. So we have some really cool ideas around that stuff. Okay, community hyperstructure. What do I mean by that? Well, sort of an esoteric or utopian definition could be that it's an interconnected network of diverse communities that, you know, have all these benefits of cross-collaboration, shared governance, and a fluid exchange of information and resources across many communities. So really a structure above the level of a community. And the way we want to start with this, and this is where Eternity comes in, is that we are introducing a new level of hierarchy above community, which we call ecosystem. And so Eternity will get its own ecosystem on common ground. And what ecosystems have is, you know, it's like their own branded version of common ground. So it's like, you know, Eternity ecosystem. We have a bunch of other partners Unfortunately, I don't have the example of eternity here, which I'm sorry for, but we have a bunch of other ecosystems, so you can imagine what it would look like. I think it's a really cool sort of idea because it doesn't exist on Discord or any other platform, this idea of an ecosystem, sort of one layer above the communities. So that's going to be really cool. Schematically, you can sort of imagine it like this, like Common Ground, which is organized as a cooperative, as sort of this big platform. And then within this platform, you have different ecosystems that, of course, can collaborate on stuff together. And then in every ecosystem, you have, many communities. That's sort of the structure that we're going for. I have a lot to say about building this as a cooperative. This is very interesting. Here's sort of our big scheme of how we're doing this. So there's a DAO, the Common Ground DAO. That's actually a non-profit association in Switzerland. And this is where we develop this platform and where the IP and the trademark, funny enough, we have a trademark just as a relation to the last presentation here. And then this DAO basically licenses the platform to the Common Ground Cooperative. And the Common Ground Cooperative will, over time, be fully owned by its users. And then this cooperative actually sort of commercializes the platform. So the platform will charge fees for a number of things, just like, other internet platforms are doing this. But here the special thing is that the users own their own platform. So it's actually, they pay fees, but they also own the whole business, including the fees. So it's up to the users how they want to actually then, invest that money or pay it out as dividends or do all kinds of shenanigans with it. It's basically going to be a user-owned social media platform in a sense. And I think that's going to be extremely interesting because we've never seen that before. Well, the design idea is that it's that the DAO issues a governance token. The governance token, legally speaking, is just a utility token. But then you can use that utility token, that governance token, and stake it in the Common Ground DAO. And staking it really means that you acquire membership rights in the cooperative. And when you have membership rights in the cooperative, you legally own the platform where you're a user in. That's the idea. This is sort of a new thing. I don't think this has been done yet, so we're trying this out. And we're going to let you know how that works. Okay, I don't know if I still have time, otherwise, I don't know. Okay. Well, okay, I will talk about the obligatory AI aspect now of this to make this seem really current and interesting to you. So we're harnessing AI in two ways. First of all, we want to turn every community into a hive mind. I think this is really powerful. So the idea is that we're using, communities opt into this, obviously. But if a community opts into this hive mind, then what we do is we fine-tune a model with the data of that community. One special thing about that is that we do this on self-hosted models. So we don't pipe that data right into Sam Altman's data harvesting operation in America. Instead, we're hosting these models locally on our own service, which again are owned by the cooperative, which is owned by the user. So the user owns their data. And we train these models on it, and then you can basically speak to the community as a hive mind. You can ask this AI, which was trained on that entire community's data, all these interesting questions about the community. What do people think about that? Blah, 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 blah. So I think this could be a really interesting thing. I think it's highly experimental, but I really look forward to playing with that. And another interesting one is sort of really out there, but might be interesting to some of you. So you may have heard about this major shift in crypto towards intents. The idea is that we're going from a imperative way of communicating with blockchains to a descriptive or declarative way of interacting with blockchains, which means that we're expressing our intents on a much more high, sort of a high level form of abstraction. So instead of saying, I want to exchange, 1,000 AE tokens to, 500 USDC or something like this, I actually say why I really want to do this, right? What is the real intent I have behind doing this particular transaction? And so this is called intents. And we've been looking at this, and we understood that this is interesting for us because it essentially means that these iconic interfaces that we know today from crypto, like the Uniswap interface, they will disappear because you will interact with blockchains on a sort of higher level than this. You will say, I have these tokens lying around, I want to earn 10% APY with it, make it happen, and then, okay, 5 minutes, perfect. So if you're interacting with an AI today, you typically do this in a chat, but in this chat, you're all alone. Your friends are not in the chat with your AI. It's not a social experience. So we believe intents are inherently social. The stuff you want to do with the assets on your wallet is mostly determined by what your peer group thinks is the right thing to do. Like most of the ideas we have originate in the social realm from our friends, our community, whatever. So we believe that in this idea of intent origination, like where does my intent come from of doing something, it really could originate in the future on common ground, and then only later other sort of intermediaries that we know from crypto jump in, like a wallet where you do some transaction, solvers, which are the people that fulfill your intents. And what's funny is that on common ground, you connect many different wallets that you have for, token gating and other sort of access reasons. So on common ground, this data is known. And so essentially, we can build something really interesting where I have a little demo of here, which is sort of a chat conversation with an AI that was trained on your personal data, your wallets, your trades, what the communities are talking about that you're in. And essentially, this bot can make really interesting recommendations to you, what you should do with your assets, or could do with your assets, where you could invest, what your friends are doing. So it's sort of like an assistant that helps you navigate and interact with your crypto assets in a new and interesting way. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a microphone. There's a question.
Yeah, there was some difficulty. I tried to Google Common Ground. And
a lot
of different things come up, but I couldn't find.
Yeah. You have to basically Google Common Ground Web3 or anything plus Common Ground because it's a pretty common term, as it turns out. It's not very SEO friendly. Yeah, that's the thing you realize 2 years in. Sorry.
One follow-up question. What's the experiment size right now? Like how many active users do you have on Common Ground? And can I just sign up and create an organization?
Yeah, Common Ground is live, is online. You can so the domain is commonground.cg, CG, which is the initials for Common Ground. So we have our own namespace on the internet, so to speak. Or we hijacked somebody's namespace. Yeah, commonground.cg. Mm-hmm.
How many users do you have right now on the platform?
So we're sort of launching in stages. We ended a public alpha just recently, and we relaunched just 2 weeks ago. And in the alpha, which lasted until April this year, we had about 6,000 users. So small, but, on the radar. Yeah. Simon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Super exciting, and there's so many topics that I want to talk to you about later. But the question that might be relevant for the audience, I did actually find the site, and I looked at it, and I was really interested in also like the whole governance, like all the structure kind of thing, and I found it was very much directed at communities as users. but not so much as like people aspiring to become part of the DAO. And so, do you have any information there? Did I overlook it, or is that something that will come at a later point? Like maybe the question is, how mature is the DAO sign up and governance process?
That's a very good question. So I would say it's, it's all legally set up, but I would say the DAO side is not very developed at the moment. So we have the legal platform to do it, but we don't have anything implemented really on top of it. And this has really been because we had no time very much to focus on this so far. So I'm very happy that you asked the question. You're probably the first one to ask that. So we would be very happy to develop the DAO side more. So we should talk about that. Cool. Very good.
As you know, I'm kind of interested in governance stuff.
I remember.
And there is I'm searching for an opportunity to set up more governance function in the collaboration tool. So because over the years I encountered like a couple of nice research projects as well about like how you can optimize different governance ways. Like how do you vote, for example, like with voting functions you use, and quadratic voting is just one small piece of the whole landscape which is out there. Is there an openness or an opportunity with Common Ground to maybe help to develop and support tooling development for governance functions?
Yeah, we would be very open to collaborate on this in some form. What I would have really hoped for the project is that we would have much earlier had the capacity to implement governance protocols to gather first experience with it. Fortunately, it hasn't happened. Our initial idea was to just integrate Snapshot, just as a sort of more social way to interact with Snapshot votes, but really, just use their API sort of as a first foray into governance on Common Ground. That's still sort of the plan, but we just didn't have the time yet to do it. I do hope that sometime this year we get to doing that. But I think this is also a very, as I actually criticized in the beginning, it's a very narrow sort of start, but you got to start somewhere. So I would love to have that conversation with you to figure that out.
Anything? No? Oh, okay. One last question.
Yeah, Florian, thank you so much for your lecture. I would like to understand more, how is it possible for a community to train an AI? Like, would they be feeding each other like their pieces, and then the AI would be like maybe the deciding vote?
So this is so this was very much vision stuff that I showed. I mean, what we have achieved is we were able to fine-tune open source models that are very high quality, from Hugging Face. Just you need one with a license that's truly open source. We took one and we fine-tuned it on our own community's data, on our own service, and it delivered really promising results. That's why I felt compelled to talk about it. So that's as far as we came. But from deploying this to other communities, still some way to go. But the idea would be that, as a community, you can opt into saying, okay, we want to train an AI agent or multiple AI agents on some or all of the data in our community, sort of the public chats, and do something with it. It is very much open for exploration. Like if you have any good ideas of what one could do with this, I would be interested. I just have a feeling it's very interesting, right? It sounds interesting. Some people are talking about using a model like that to automate the governance of a community, which I think is extremely dangerous also, right? Like it's like, how much power do you not want to give to your AI? Obviously there are injection attacks in AI, like somebody can inject particular stuff in your model because they know it's being trained on that data, and then there are weird attack vectors we are not yet used to. So I think there is also a lot of dangers there, but I think overall it's a useful idea.